What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. I'm Sean Woodland, being joined by Tommy Marquez. Tommy, how are you?
I'm good. We got, 2 more weekends of football left. National championship just happened.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready for Wodapalooza week.
Yep.
There's all sorts of good stuff. And yeah.
Open's right around the corner. Lauren is not here tonight, obviously. She is she in Florida now? She was in Vegas for the SHOT Show.
Yep.
And now I think she's either in transit or has arrived in the Sunshine State.
I think she is in transit, and I know that there's been some issues with flights getting in.
Oh, no.
Because there's been snow in the southeast.
Yes, there's been snow in Florida. That place is going to shut down. They are not equipped for that.
Definitely
at all. Drivers there are bad enough as it is. You put them on snowy roads, it's going to be Mad Max Fury Road. Not good. Okay. We have a couple things we want to talk about today. We're obviously going to preview the individual side of Wodapalooza. And we'll talk about some of the other just news things going on, specifically with the Open and the CrossFit Games season. But before we do that, we want to thank one of our sponsors for today, and that is Thirdsy and their Rest and Recovery Collagen. It will help you optimize your sleep and your recovery. And all you have to do is mix it in 8 ounces of water at night before you go to bed. You chug it. Tastes great. It helps calm your central nervous system with ingredients like GABA, L-theanine, and magnesium. It helps you get to sleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up more refreshed. And I know you now, as a father of a young child, have a brand new appreciation for how effective the Thirdsy Rest and Recovery Collagen actually is.
And if you're sitting there at home thinking, well, hey, wait, I work a weird hours of the night. Maybe I'm a night shift or graveyard or swing shift. Why would I take Thirdsy at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m.? Well, I can tell you firsthand that if you decide to finally go to bed at 3 or 4 a.m. and slam some Thirdsy and you only have like 4 or 5 hours to sleep until you got to be ready for the next day, and that's your only window, still works wonders.
It does.
Actually, it has been a lifesaver for me. The only reason I'm able to work out basically at this point because of the sleep that I'm getting when I switch shifts with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She makes me some Thirdsy. I slam it, hit the pillow.
It's great. Love it. Yeah. Thirdsy.com. That's THIRDZY.com/TEF. 20% off added automatically to your order, and you will optimize the way you sleep and the way that you recover, and you're going to get up feeling great every morning after taking Thirdsy. So big thanks to Thirdsy for supporting the show. Please go support them. Thirdsy.com/TEF. Okay, let's talk about the first thing that we want to get to, and that is open registration. So open registration is underway, and our good friend Mike Halpin has been tracking this as he and the Morning Chalk Up have done for the past couple years. They've tracked open registration and how it's related to years in the past. So I'm going to pop this up here. So this is his latest thing. This is as of today, or the 21st, I believe. So this is the latest one. We're recording this on Wednesday night. But right now, at this point, at the snapshot, Mike says that we have 20,728 registrants. That's on the 6th day of registration. So on the 6th day of registration just 1 year ago, we had 41,499. So that's nearly a 50% decrease. And that has pretty much fluctuated a little bit over the first 6 days. Sometimes a little bit higher than 50%, sometimes a little bit lower, but that has more or less maintained. So if that were to continue, let's just say it's a 50% drop. We're at what, 160-ish?
And I want to say, is he also calculating like days from end too? Like he's factoring in, like it's not like day 6 of registration is important, but like how many days until registration closes?
I'm not sure if he's doing it. I'm just going by what I'm reading here.
I want to say there was he also had a way to account for that. Like, so like this number and like the disparity also, takes a look at like the end of the graph is at the same point, like the graph ends at the same spot.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, so am I right about that? How many do we have last year? Like 300,000 something?
Yeah. 323, 333, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So that would be about 160, right?
Yeah.
If that held. And I don't know if it will or not, because as you can see, if you're watching this, the graph that Mike has, there's always that spike towards the end. Now, that's usually because people see that first workout, they see the open, they get fired up. Like, oh God, I got to register before I do the workout. And they do it. So you get that spike at the end. And you usually have like a pretty big, when we were working there, I always remember like first couple of days, it was like went up pretty high, then it tailed off. This one is just sort of a steady little line that goes up and to the right. But the bigger thing that I wanted to talk about here is the concernometer, something that the Athletic, I'm stealing from the Athletic. They always do it this about, like, where's the concernometer right now at this point of the season for your specific team? I guess, and I'll start. So my concern right now is not necessarily the fact that there are fewer people who have signed up, because I think everyone expected that. That's not a shock. My concern is this what's the wording I'm looking for? Does this like go beyond this and mean that people are no longer interested in the sport? And I don't know if that's the case. And I think we'll get those answers pretty quickly. Tier Wodapalooza starts tomorrow. Yeah. So we'll see what that atmosphere is like there. It's like the atmosphere on site in SoCal for Tier Wodapalooza SoCal was really good. And that was shortly after what happened at the games. But what do the numbers look like online? Like what's the appetite that people have? And that's where my concern is. So I don't know if I put a number on it, but my concernometer is like right in the middle right now. Because I don't think this is unexpected that there was a drop. I think everybody knew there was going to be a drop. It's like, what's the collateral damage?
Mine might be a little bit further than that, mainly because of some of the metrics that have been published over the last couple of years. So CrossFit, I think it was CrossFit, and I think maybe even Halpin himself too, we're discussing about like the makeup of the open registrants year over year, and how like a certain percentage of new people were coming to the table, right? As far as like registering for the open, signing up, all of that. And the one thing that was a bit concerning from that was the number of people that weren't returning, right? The retention rate, or the churn rate, depending on how you look at it. That would give me more pause for concern if we do see that 50% get lopped off, because you've now cut back on the one valuable growth metric that you had in getting new people on board. And if you can't do that because either A, those new people just aren't coming through your own like sheer incompetence, or B, those new people were very quickly off put by what happened this past year, then you're like, ooh, okay, so you're not keeping the people that you had. You aren't generating enough new people to overcome that, which they were able to do in the past, which is, like, hey, you could say, hey, we're growing in all these different areas of the globe. Like progress is slowed in the US, progress is slowed maybe a couple other places, but in Europe, in Asia, in South Latin America, we're blowing up. So that's fine. Like we're okay with that. If you don't get that significant bump from new people this year, and you haven't been keeping the people that you convinced to sign up year over year for the last 4 or 5 years, which has kind of been the case, then my concernometer goes up, right? Because they've been able to at least withstand bad, like quote unquote bad news to a certain degree in the past. All the changes just got, when all the changes got dropped on everybody into 2018, and even still, like, registration dropped a little bit. It still got a nice surge above what it was last year, actually, because the last minute, like FOMO, whatever. But then you could almost hear the pin drop in the room when everyone turned on the first open announcement, and it was like, wait, this is what we're getting? Yeah. And then the games happened, and then so once there was like less than savory thing stacked on less than savory thing, that's when it really started to take a negative toll. And that's when you saw the significant decrease in open registration for 2020. You also couple that with, I guess you would say maybe like fatigue, right? From people having to do multiple opens in the same calendar year.
Because that's when they moved it to October, for people who don't know. Like that year we had we had the open in February, And then they did the regular season. And then at the end of 2019, going into the COVID season, they had the Open in October, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so like once you had these like in multiple scenarios, people walked away unsatisfied with the product that was put out, and then you asked them to sign up very quickly again. That's when people were really like, nah, I think I'll pass this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it took, and you had to start convincing new people to come back to the table in the subsequent years when it seemed like there was changes that were going to be for good. Now you have this scenario where you're dropping a lot of news on people last minute, whether it's changes to the season, changes to the rule book, adjustments. There are a lot of people that I think are dissatisfied with the result, with what's come out from CrossFit regarding Lazar's situation and the tragedy that happened at the games. And it's like, how many of these blows can you withstand and keep pushing forward? So, my concern meter is definitely a little bit more. I'm nervous for this, right?
Yeah. And
I think, and I also don't think it's going to go over that well, that people feel like the buck's getting passed to them to fund the prize purse when they've never had to do that before.
Well, that's a great segue, because that's something that I wanted to address. So let's say best case, at this point, they're tracking to about, if the 50% drop holds, somewhere between 160, 170,000.
Yeah.
Let's say they get a bump at the end because they announced something cool with the Open. They're going to do Open announcements as we know them. That gets people kind of fired up. And then that gets bumped up to, let's call it somewhere right around 200,000 people. So what that would do to the games payout is that the first place individual would make $245,000. So that is a more than 100K decrease from where it has been. Second gets 49, third gets 39, fourth would get 34, fifth would get a little more than 17,000. And then, it drops down from there. But 20th place would get $2,450. And then anybody beyond 20th doesn't get paid. So, online semifinals, first place gets $7,500. So there's a significant drop, as you mentioned, in the prize money here. If that, were to happen. And right now, 200,000, the way that this is tracking would look like, where do I sign if you're CrossFit? Like, can I get that rate? Like, could you guarantee me that right now? They'd probably take that deal if they could get 200K.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think that if they are able to announce some things with the Open about, hey, we're going to and I know I've been told off the record that there is going to be something. I've talked to somebody who kind of is involved, I think, with one of them. So I think there are going to be Open announcements. Now, whether or not those are going to look like the Open announcements that we all know and love, I don't know. As you mentioned, I think one of the things that was really the bucket of cold water of reality in the community's face when all those changes were made in 2019 were the Open announcements. Because, and I don't say this trying to point fingers at the people who put them on, but they did the best they could with what they had, but it was clearly not to the level of what people were used to.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's some good news coming with that, but that's where we are right now. It's still early, but 50% decrease from last year, which I think is more than I thought it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. What was let me go back and find it. Let's see. Yeah. If this is the case, if say we hit half, right? 160, whatever it may be, like the payouts for second through the remainders are less than that of non-CrossFit Games events.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that now, then that's the echelon that you're competing with.
Right.
And so the games become the biggest drawing point.
I don't know.
And then if the best athletes, if the best athletes aren't pursuing that anymore, what does that do to the claim of fittest on earth?
Well, I think it, look, we've always said if someone's injured or not there, it's who's the fittest on earth at that point, at that time, who's there, but I get what you're saying. If someone's not healthy and just decides not to compete, it does sort of erode that claim a little bit.
Yeah. It's like you become the Houston Rockets, right? Like the 2 years that Jordan was gone, you're like, yeah, you're the NBA champs, but.
Right. Yeah.
The King's going to come back and things are going to change, and they did.
Well, there's something that we'll definitely keep an eye on. But speaking of the game season, another piece of news that came out was that there's going to be allegedly a Last Chance Last Chance Qualifier. I don't want to say online. Last Chance Qualifier. This was let me call up the Morning Chalk Up article here that the post that they had. So this was a couple days ago, but the post on Instagram from Morning Chalk Up reads: a third pathway to the 2025 CrossFit Games leaked, Last Chance Qualifier. And they write, just as we thought we might finally know all of the details of the 2025 CrossFit Games season qualification process, another detail has been leaked. One final man and one final woman will have the opportunity to earn their invite at the 2025 Games through a, quote, Last Chance Qualifier, or at least that's what we think is the case. It was leaked by Rich Froning on Monday during a conversation with Roy McKernan, old Captain Handsome, on the CrossFit, they spelled his name wrong, on the CrossFit Mayhem podcast. This is the quote. Yeah, they're doing a Last Chance Qualifier this year too, Froning said, to which McKernan said, there's a Last Chance Qualifier? After that, there was an awkward moment before Froning added, I don't know if that's announced, but I'm pretty sure, whoops. So, that's out there, but it tracks with what we know about the qualifying spots, because we were trying to speculate. It looks like there was, when you looked at all the spots available and who was coming from where, there were like 2 that were still up for grabs in person, and no one knew what that was going to be. So now it looks like there's an online qualifier. Now, most likely it is going to be online, because that's how they've done this in the past. I actually like the Last Chance Qualifier. I think it's a good thing. I just wish, and we've talked about this before, this is the problem that I have with piecemealing information out, is that, that information vacuum gets filled with stuff, and then B, it's like, you have this slow trickle of things that come out, and you don't know when you're done. Mm-hmm. And it felt like we were kind of done with the in-person stuff, and they say, oh wait, now this is going to happen. Now it hasn't been officially announced, but I would like for these things to be all announced at one time, so we have the full picture of the season, everything all at once. But I guess there's just this desire to get things out there so people have stuff to talk about, as opposed to let's wait and just get everything out there.
It's also like again, I don't have anything against the information itself that there is a Last Chance Qualifier, but I have there's like, why is this the way that we're getting it again? Mm-hmm. It's, and there's nothing against Rich and the Mayhem crew, but like, why isn't CrossFit telling us this? Why is this information out there? Maybe it's not decided yet, but Possibly. Then why is this information distributed to some people and not everybody?
Yeah.
Like who and maybe that's wrong, but we don't know. We honestly don't know who has this information, who doesn't, mm-hmm. and how impactful that information is for people who have it, right? Yeah. Given the details.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't have leaks if you get everything out. Just get everything out all at once.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But I would like to see that change. Like, just give me the whole picture. Don't give me a little bit of one. And then that just, you take that info that you get, and you're going to use that as a jumping off point to try to figure out what else is going on. And sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to be right. Sometimes, like, it's just, let's just get it all out. Simple.
It's just like, it's the same communication issues that have just plagued it for years. That's funny. It just popped in my head. Remember when people were complaining how, like, when leaks and things of this nature were happening when Castro was gone, and they're like, well, if Castro was here, it wouldn't happen. And you're like, well, it's more just it's really
a systematic thing, really.
Yeah, it's a systematic thing. It doesn't I don't know.
Well, I like the fact that I like the Last Chance Qualifier. I really do.
I do. I've always loved, like, the idea of, hey, like, one last shot, like, mm-hmm. And awesome stories have come out of it. Tommy Hackenberg, who finished second at the games as a nobody, who bummed a ride to the games in Aromas and was sleeping on the floor of someone's hotel that he was crashing in, like, making the podium, and then his career takes off in the mm-hmm. sport from there. Like, that changed his life.
Well, think about last year. We could have, like, Colton Mertens could have had a really good chance to make it in after the great showing he had in the West. Like, there are these athletes where it's like, yeah, we got to give that guy or that woman one more shot to get in. And they've done it in the past. I've enjoyed it. I like the fact that they're going to have it. I'm assuming it is going to be online. I can't imagine this being like a live in-person competition, because now you're asking these athletes to travel yet again. Mm-hmm. And the odds are, if you're in the Last Chance Qualifier, I think the Tommy Hackenberg case is very much the exception to the rule. But if you're in that, you're not like in line for a very big payday. So most likely online. But yeah, I like it. I think it's good. It adds a lot of drama and a lot of intrigue.
I agree. And like, yeah, it provides a cool opportunity. Like the storyline from that alone is like, hey, you get another shot. Like, what are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And how are you going to make the most of it? But it's also like, hey, we have athletes signing up for the Open right now for the season that don't know all of the ways to get there.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe more stuff will come out, but
I hope CrossFit has a massive platform. Like, use it.
Yeah. Well, I think the next things that in my book, that need to come out is like, what's going on with Open announcements? Like, what's that going to look like? Because if you're looking to get people excited and get them, like I believe that the Open announcements do help generate excitement and get people to want to sign up.
For sure.
They're, they have really no bearing on anybody as far as like affecting the way you perform in a workout, but it is, it's cool when you see it, and then you see the athletes go at it and they set the mark like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to give that a try. I want to sign up. Like I think it just helps generate enthusiasm for it. So that to me should be the next thing that comes out sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe generate a little bit of excitement, get people talking about some good stuff around the Open, and we'll go from there. But that's go ahead.
Yeah. We're at a month and 37 days from the start of the Open.
Mm-hmm.
We're a month away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know. The communication aspect of it and how the season changes have been delivered feels like a regression for sure.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, that's all the news that we have to talk about for this week. Okay, shifting gears. Tier Wodapalooza is less than 24 hours away. It is the unofficial beginning of the 2025 season. It's always the event that kind of kicks things off. It used to be the event where, as you mentioned earlier, people would kind of show up. Oh, we were talking off camera about this, but people showed up at Wodapalooza, kind of made a name for themselves and put themselves on the radar for the game season. And that happens a little bit now, but it's more of an established competition where you get a lot more big names. So not a lot of people who show up kind of, hey, who's this person? But we're going to preview that. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsor, another one of our sponsors. That's Reebok. They're going to be sponsoring our coverage of Wodapalooza this entire weekend. And Lauren Khalil is in Miami. She'll be on the ground there, bringing us all the interviews and news. The Nano X5 drops January 24th. That's 2 days from now. It's the 15th iteration. It is the most comfortable, breathable, and stable Nano yet. I'm still using my X4s, and I love them. Whether you're training to be a champion or just getting your reps in, this training icon keeps getting better and better, and you're not going to want to miss out when the shoe drops on January 24th. 15th anniversary, man. It's breathable and stable. That's built on crazy. The new dual response EVA foam platform. Combined with the new comfort collar system, the Nano X5 provides 360 degrees of comfort and stability. And we were talking, last week. I remember the first Nano. Remember those yellow ones? They were yellow and they came in a red box that looked like they still come in that iconic red box that looked like the rail car,
Yeah, it was like a Connex box.
Yeah. And you baked them, like you put them in the oven and then
you like form to your foot, almost like you do with your baseball glove.
I remember going to the games in 2011 as a fan and seeing those things there I thought they were the most magical shoe I've ever seen in my life. I think this is the coolest thing, that there's actually a shoe for CrossFit and it says it on it. Like I really wanted to buy one. Like I really wanted to buy a pair. I didn't, but I was like these, and I think they only came in the yellow. Like that was the only color I think that they were selling at the games. And that's when Vendor Village was like pretty small. And the Reebok tent was like in the corner there of right by the stadium. Like it you could actually kind of see the tennis stadium from the Reebok tent. And it was just kind of outside and they had all these shoe boxes stacked up. That was really cool. That was a fun experience.
It feels like ages ago.
It does.
And if you had told me then, like, hey, what do you think this like, I couldn't fathom having a CrossFit shoe enter its 15th iteration.
I know. Yeah, I've never had a pair of Nanos I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I've used a lot of shoes and there are a lot of good shoes that there's plenty of brands that make, good shoes, but the Nanos, Like they've been doing the longest. I still wear like I said, I still have my 4s on. I haven't tried the 5s yet. I just feel bad because like the 4s aren't worn out yet. They've lasted me a long time. Like they're still good, you know.
Keep them fresh and crispy when you need them.
Yeah,
you know?
right. It's like I feel like I need to bring them out on a special occasion. So really looking forward to trying the Nano X5. But January 24th, that's when those things drop. So check them out. The Nano X5, the 15th iteration. You know what's funny about? I don't know if I've told this story before, but the 2011 games, I went as a fan with my my old college roommate named Brandon Jebbins, who was passed away a few years ago because he had a brain tumor. God rest his soul. Great dude. But Brandon at the time was going to Bill Grundler's gym. And so Brandon and I were walking to get to our seats in the tennis stadium. We were walking behind the broadcast booth. Bill Grundler steps out of the broadcast booth. Brandon says, "Hey, that's my coach, Sean. I want to introduce you to Bill Grundler." And so he introduced me. I met Bill, went along my merry way. And then 1 year later, Bill and I were calling the games together.
Isn't that crazy how life works like that?
It was weird. Like when I think back on that, like that was kind of weird. So,
man,
anyway.
that's
yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about Tier Wodapalooza. Is this the 13th iteration of Tier Wodapalooza?
I believe so.
I think it's the 13th iteration, and they're going to have individuals first. Individuals go Thursday and Friday. Teams go Saturday and Sunday, and the teams are really kind of the staple of Wodapalooza because and you'll know more about this than me, but I feel like they were the first competition to do those teams of three men, 3 women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it really became their calling card. And they would often mix that. I think last year was the first time that they separated it. Or the year before?
Yeah. So last year was the first like 2-2 split year.
Yep. Because they used to go on at the same time. So individuals could not compete in the teams, and they figured out, hey, it's actually a lot of fun to watch the individuals compete as teams. So let's let people do both. And I think that was a great move on Tier Wodapalooza's part.
Yep. And reduce the total volume, you know, for a lot of those athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you have this, you have the talking point of athletes trying to do the double and be able to like win both. And it's just, it's a much better format. It splits the competition in half, and there's like almost a reset there for the weekend. And then teams take the floor for the weekend, which is always great. So,
yeah. And it's in a new location. You know, if you went to Bayfront Park, you know, like that was a really cool location, right? Through the city. Like that's, I don't know, other than some scenes of the games and maybe some of the stuff that's happened in Dubai with some of those iconic locations. Mm-hmm. To me, Wodapalooza has always had sort of the most iconic location in CrossFit. As far as like independent competitions go, because of that backdrop that you got with the cityscape, because of Bayside, that you always like, man, that's Wodapalooza. That's what it is. You actually, you could just look at it and be like, yeah, that's what the competition is right there. That's the feel. So I'll be interested to see like how the new location compares to that. They always put on a great event, but I feel like the location always plays a part. If SoCal is any indication, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, and you're seeing some stuff come out online, as it gets set up. The Tier Wodapalooza handle has put it out, and they've been doing sneak peeks and releasing like layouts and everything like that. And I do feel like SoCal was a dry run for this.
Yes, like,
hey, how does this hold up on the sand? Knowing that you're going to Miami Beach, and I mean, it's anyone who's been there, it's like it's gonna be a cool spot. You're like right in the middle of the thick of things. Mm-hmm. I'd be really interested to see how the atmosphere is replicated there, because, like you mentioned, with those that iconic imagery, like the games, the tennis stadium at the games, I think was also like solidified in people's minds in large part because of the performances that we saw and the stakes that were there, right? Wodapalooza, and now like in this newer iteration with Tier Wodapalooza, has been able to do that absent of necessarily the stakes being high, but rather the environment and the surrounding area playing into that to provide excitement, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's different when Rich Froning and Josh Bridges are fighting for points on the podium, and then, we're in California under the lights in Tennessee, and that's cool. It's different when like, hey, this combination that doesn't really, who wins really doesn't matter, but look, like it's the Miami skyline behind us. Or look, there's a party barge behind, Pat Vellner doing muscle ups, at Bayside. So
was it
like
Shaq's yacht out there one time? Like, didn't Shaquille O'Neal have his yacht out there? I heard that one year. Like, it's like
someone told me that Shaq did show up. Yeah,
that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
All right, well, let's dive into the competition. First of all, shout out Chase Ingram, Bill Grundler calling that event. I'm not. I guess you can go to like the Wodapalooza YouTube or something and find it. But shout out to those guys. They are. I'm glad they're back in the saddle there because they did so much work in those early days when, remember, it was like Flow Sports. They were. So.
Chase and Bill were the OG like people like trudging through the trenches for that event to like get the broadcast up and going. Yeah. So, it's obviously a bummer that like we can't be out there supporting the event.
Yeah, dad duties.
Different phase of life right now.
But happy for those guys. Sure, it's going to be awesome to hear them back on the call again. Okay, you want to start? You want to do women first? Start with women?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's here's what I kind of want to do. Let's go top 3, all right? Because there's some heavy hitters here. And I don't look, I look, Laura Horvath, anytime she's in the competition, feel like she's going to win. She's pretty much a guarantee if Tia's not there and Laura is, there it is. So I don't think I got to pick. I cannot not pick Laura Horvath to be first.
Laura's my pick. I can give you my top 3 right now.
Okay, go for it.
My top 3 is Laura, Ariel Lone, and Alexis Raptis.
Okay.
With the like podium bubble athletes for me being Emily Rolfe and Emma Tall.
Okay.
Just kind of depending on how programming plays out, how training, like what stage of training they're at and ramping up for the calendar year.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I think Laura, even despite the fact that she benefits from a longer competition,
mm-hmm.
Laura is one of the people that I think wants it to be 4 days.
Yeah.
Cause she just like grinds people to a pulp at that point. I just think she's so good at this point. And if she's kept the engine warm through the off season, especially like given everything that happened this past year at the games, like I think this is a great opportunity for her.
Agreed. I'm more or less with you on the podium. I might be a little different. I actually think Raptis is going to finish second.
Ooh.
And I'll go Lowen in third for sure. So I'm just going to flip those two. And as far as bubble podium, you know what? Let me throw a name at you because I just think maybe she's going to do. I don't know why. It's got a good feeling. I think she's going to be there inside maybe top 7. I think Annika Greer is going to do really well. I think she's.
Oh, okay.
She's very well motivated. I like Emily Rolfe being in contention as well. Danny Spiegel always seems to do very well in Miami. Shorter competition, which is good for her. Mm-hmm. So I think she could be up there as well. And then I do agree with Emma Tall. I think she'll be knocking on the door too. So that's kind of my handful of other contenders.
Yeah, I definitely think there's someone. This is a cool opportunity. Oh, because you had some other qualifiers too, right?
Yeah, we'll do that here in a second.
There's a few other names that I definitely want to see what the if there's a next evolution of their status as an athlete kind of shows up here. All if we see something new, because even going back to Tier Wodapalooza SoCal, like Ariel Lowen was like, "Hey, I've been lifting, Mama been eating," and we got to see her hit all those PRs on the competition floor. Mm-hmm. That's like, okay, how does that get shifted over? Like a lot of athletes have gone back into the lab and started making these adjustments that we're finally going to get to see a little bit glimpses of for the first time.
Okay, so who has one of the things I wanted to know? I thought we could talk about who has the most to prove on the women's side. Who has the most to prove here?
I looked at it a couple ways here. Because there's a couple different ways. I look at like most to prove in terms of like I'm still one of the elite, and I think that's Brooke Wells.
I like that one. That's a good one.
I think she has an opportunity to remind people that hey, I'm still like a perennial top 10. I'm top 7, top 6, type athlete. Even though it's now been 10 years since she showed up to the games. This could be an 11th qualification, I guess, No, she missed. Yeah, an 11th qualification, I believe. She missed 1 year, so this would be 10.
Mhm.
But yeah, 11 spanning
That's
11
crazy.
seasons.
It's a good one.
And the other side of that, I think someone that like Jennifer Muir, who was just a couple of spots out from qualifying in Europe last year,
Mhm.
that she's got something to prove that like, hey, maybe I took a next step here, and I could be someone that can qualify out of a very talented like Europe contingent. Especially, obviously it's different now with the qualification standards being all over the map. But she's only 24 last season. So she's got some good years ahead of us, and you're starting to see into that 25, 26, 27 is when we, was that like 24 plus is when we saw athletes like Tia, is when we saw Katrin really hit her second stride. It's when like Annie really hit her prime. And we've seen a few, Sarah, the same thing in that time window. So this is a good opportunity for her to maybe be one of those athletes that like, hey, this is the year I break through.
All right. I like that. I think I'm going to put Annika Greer in that as well. And I think just that's
Agreed,
more to prove
yeah.
to herself, how close she's been these past couple of years. I think if she comes out and she has a really good showing, doesn't even need to finish on the podium, but she's top 5, I think that's going to go a long way to proving to herself that, yes, I can do this. So who has the most to gain? Just came up with that one.
See, I kind of thought that's where Annika falls for me.
Okay.
Right? Like she has been on we've detailed it on this show, just an unprecedented, unlucky streak in terms of like the qualification standards changing year to year and her consistently following just outside of that, sometimes by her own performances, sometimes by tough calls here or there and mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
I think she stands to gain a lot because remember, like a couple of years ago at Wodapalooza, she won the overhead squat workout. That was kind of like the interval workout that finished with a large chunk of overhead squats that she won going away, and that was a huge boost to her.
Yeah,
in her training, and that was what a lot of people felt like. Okay, this is going to be the year before obviously the deadline submission stuff happened, and so I think this could be something that a good performance can reinstill that confidence in her that I don't think she's necessarily lost, but it wears at you. So it's, I also think that Sarah Kaya can gain a lot here because I think it would build on what we saw at Tier Wodapalooza SoCal.
Yes.
Where she was an athlete that maybe some people were like, don't know her that well. I'm curious what she brings to the table. And she went out and earned some points for her team and had some performances that I think like raised some eyebrows and helped get her out of her shell as well. So I do think stepping into, I think this is one of the deepest Wodapalooza fields that we've had for a long time.
Yeah.
Individually on the women's side, that you're like, okay, well, if you could be top 8 here, that's, now we're not looking at you as like a 20 to 25th type athlete or a 15th to 25th athlete at the games. Now we're looking at maybe, hey, can you make a little noise hovering around 12, 13 at some point?
Let me just throw one name at you, and that's Elisa Fuliano. Because I think like she has really nothing to lose because when you talk about the top athletes in Europe, her name doesn't come up a lot. It's not one of the most immediate names that'll come up. But if she does well here, I think that given kind of how she's had sort of an steady upward trajectory, she comes up with a top 10 finish at Wodapalooza. Maybe her name starts coming up a little bit more. And if she doesn't, no harm, no foul, right? But just someone to keep an eye on. Okay, let's go over to the men's side. Okay,
I will say one thought on that before we move. Sorry.
Okay,
I do think that there's some names that Lexi Neely, Lydia Fish, some younger athletes that I think can have a boon from this. And then the athlete that I did want to mention that I feel like, hey, where's the next evolution is Abby Domet.
Yes, right? That's a really good point. Yeah, for sure.
A couple of runs here now, being like at the upper echelon of the sport, got into it very relatively inexperienced, right? Like there wasn't a long time from when she transitioned into competing full time to when she made the games. It's like, okay, so you go to the games, you have a couple results. What is the secondary evolution of your game and how you develop as an athlete, and what does that look like?
Yeah.
So,
okay. I like that.
yeah.
All right, men. We'll start with our podium. I feel like the same thing here for the men as I did for the women. It's hard for me to pick against Jeff Adler right now. And I know like it's a shorter competition. Ricky Garrard has obviously done very well here, won it last year. But I just think Adler is, especially after the way he performed at Rogue, he's my guy to win. And then it comes down to Garrard and Vellner.
Yeah.
And I think that'll be a fun battle to watch. I'll take Garrard in second and Vellner in third.
Yeah. That matches my exact top three.
Okay.
I have Adler, Garrard, Vellner follow closely behind. And this is the next two athletes, very similar to the women, I think could have a couple of very interesting battles depending on what they showcase in terms of some of the stuff that maybe they're not the greatest at. That's included in the programming here. And that's James Sprague and Austin Hatfield.
Yes.
So I have Austin Hatfield in the top 5 here.
Oh,
and
all right.
I think I have him in 5th, and I think he has an opportunity to, like, we had his name come up in the Open a couple times, and we're like, all right, is he going to make the games? He makes the games, has strong performance inside the top 10. Granted, all the craziness that was going on, but had some things that really stood out to me, like, and how he performed, particularly in, oh my gosh, box step ups. Chad. Yep. Like, I watched how he managed that. I was standing on the floor, like 10 feet from him, and watched how he managed that relative to other people. And those box step ups were basically at his chest height. And I was incredibly impressed by his diligence and ability to focus and drown out everything else out in that event. So, I do think there's, like, for Sprague, like the wall facing handstand pushups and things like that could potentially, like that stuff has stopped him in his tracks.
Yeah.
In years past. So, like, how does that improve? Because that could be the thing that catapults him up or down. And I don't think there's any swim event, right? Like,
I don't think there's going to be.
Yeah. So that was something that Sprague would win in the past. So, like, you've taken a home run piece away from him.
Yeah. That
is like, oof, that's tough.
Okay.
So that's where I see him on the border of podium.
So that's good jumping off point, because I had him, Sprague, as my athlete with the most to prove.
I would agree with that too.
Because I think, I can't remember where he finished at Rogue. I'd have to look, but he came out winning the games, and then it's like, the talk was, and I hate to say it because I love James Sprague, he's a great kid, and I love his dad and the whole, but the talk has been, well, he won. The only reason he won, it's not because of his talent, which is unfortunate because he's very talented. It's because no one really cared at that point, and they weren't trying their hardest. Adler wasn't there. You kind of just what you were talking about a little bit ago about the Houston Rockets, right? So I think, but if James can go out in this competition and be right there with those guys, push for a spot on the podium, maybe it dulls some of that a little bit. But so I think that he's the guy that I think has the most to prove. I think, no, I am legit. I am a champion. I deserve to be called a champion. It's because I won the games, not because everybody else didn't try.
Yeah. Yeah. And this has been a good atmosphere for him. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right? Because it reminds me a lot of the chatter around Graham Holmberg back in 2010, when it was like, oh, you won because Rich didn't know how to climb a rope. Like, he got caught. Right. And then you had the Tahoe again, faster Rogue throwdown the next, like, few months later.
Well, that's a deep pull right there. Dang.
And the first one of the first head-to-head matchups for the guys was Rich going head-to-head with Graham. And everyone kind of saw that as the de facto, like, rubber match tiebreaker for that year.
Yeah.
And that wasn't fair to Graham, right? Because Graham showed up and won, rightfully so. But that was it's a little bit different circumstances, obviously. But that reminds me of the discussion around that. I think that's most to prove. I also think maybe someone like Yona
I was just
being
going
in
to
the
say
individual
him.
side. Missing qualification last year, and he was a guy who benefited from the Last Chance Qualifier a couple of years ago, not making it out of strength and depth and missing out. He was sick. He's also battled injuries in the past, so he's also despite not being that old, he's someone that's been around a long time now. So it's like, all right, how do you still hang with these young guns in this next iteration for sure?
Yeah. What about most to gain?
It's funny because I do think in many ways like Sprague can gain the respect of a lot of people in that regard. It's almost those kind of go hand in hand for him. But I also think that I'll be honest, I think someone like Luca has a lot to gain here.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And it's a very different circumstance, but you're someone that's literally gaining spirit back into a pursuit that you love so much and shared with someone that you lost. I think it's hard to say there's people that can gain that much more than that. Piggybacking off of that though, I do think there's some young guys like Jack Farlow.
I was going to mention him.
Missing out is a guy that can get back into it. And then George Sterner is kind of an interesting name, a guy we haven't talked about in a long time. He was one of those young athletes in the teenage divisions that he came up as a runner-up to Nick Palladino a couple times, and he was a multi-year games qualifier for a teenager. He made the games right away in 2019 when you just needed to have a valid driver's license to get to the games. Yeah. But he was still a very legit athlete. And then, one of those, and I guess you could say this about a lot of the male teenage athletes, that they just kind of maybe fade into that no man's land of not making the jump immediately or the developmental gap. I don't know personally what happened with George, but he has been off the radar for a few years now. And now he is back, and he got to Wodapalooza by going through the qualifier. So putting up some solid performances ahead of some really talented athletes. All right, what does that look like now when he's, instead of being 18, 19, now you're 24, 23.
Yeah.
And you got some of that man strength.
Yeah. One more name, and you've already mentioned him, Austin Hatfield. I think he has a lot to gain just because last year, first time breakthrough, gets to the games, looked really good doing it. And now it's like, okay, yeah, you did it once. What are you going to do again this year? You have a great start here. I think you gain a little bit of, not that he needs any more legitimacy, but it's just nice to be like, yeah, see, I'm not a one-time, flash in the pan here. I'm legit. And I think he is. But that's just another name I would throw out there. So, okay. I'm looking forward to it. Wodapalooza is always fun to check out. I really want to see what that new atmosphere is going to look like. Going to be good to hear, Bill and Chase doing their thing. They always have a lot of fun. You and I have worked with them before, and they're, I've been fortunate to work with both of them, total pros. So
totally.
That'll be cool.
I think that a similar boat as say Arkaya for the men, following the Tier Wodapalooza Soko's Anil Kai.
Yeah,
we saw him kind of throw down the gauntlet a little bit in his opportunities in SoCal, and it's like, okay, is the ups and downs that we've seen him have at times, is this going to level out? We're going to see another level for him because he's got the tools, and he's a formidable athlete. You can see the potential in him for sure.
Yes.
And this is a good opportunity, right? You're going to go, let's see. I mean, you're going to go against at least 3 games podium athletes, another 3 or 4 that have finished inside the top 10 at the games. Yeah, it's good. Good litmus test.
It's a really good field on both sides. And then the teams are going to be a lot of fun to watch on Saturday and Sunday as well. So, and we'll have coverage on our social media channels. If you're not following us, follow us on Instagram, Talking Elite Fitness. Lauren is going to be there getting interviews. We'll have highlights. So if you don't have a chance to watch, because it does get started pretty early in the day, especially if you're on the West Coast. But if you want to get caught up, we got you covered.
Yep. And of course, Lauren's got the after party going on.
Yes. You can win a free pair of Nanos at the after party.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, I want some of them X5s, well, you can go get one
Throw
at
those
the
up on
after
screen.
party.
Look at those puppies.
And don't forget the code word where Lauren will literally take a shot of whatever.
What is the code word again?
Shooter McGavin, which is code words, I guess. Shooter McGavin.
And the location of the happy hour. I should know all this. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Let me pull it up.
Efforting the happy hour. But yeah, you can show it. And this one, last year we did it before. So it's January 26th from 7 to 9. Here, let me pop this up on the screen.
That's Sola, sorry.
Yeah, Sola, which is Spanish for Sola. 7 to 9 p.m. That's 1000 Collins Avenue in Miami Beach, Florida. You show up, you can win a free pair of Nano X5s for free. Win a free pair. Shooter McGavin. Lauren's going to do a shot.
Say Shooter McGavin and then slide Lauren a shot of cheap gin that you heated up in the microwave.
You're probably going to have to buy it. But
100%.
Please tag us on social media when you do it, because I want to get like a reel of her just getting schnockered. So that could be dangerous.
I just pictured us like checking our phones at like, I don't know, 9 p.m. on Sunday and be like, I think we killed Lauren.
Yeah. Oh God. Like, what?
Whoops.
Is she in a cop car? What's going on? God. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Driving.
So you can win a free pair of Nanos. You can hang out with Lauren, win some free swag. I think there might be some stuff there, but it'll be fun. Go to Sola, have a good time. Might be some athletes. Maybe the Buttery Bros will stop by. Try to get them to show up. That'd be fun. All right, let's get to. I actually do have some community support.
So do I. Yep.
That you and I might have the same one.
From the Malibu stuff?
Yes. So there's an online shop at CrossFit Malibu. I'll call it up here on the screen here in a second. So the fires have ruined their business. They've pushed they've paused many memberships as members have either lost their homes or cannot access their homes. So a small purchase from their online store would really give them a boost. You can go to the website here. It's CrossFit-Malibu.printify.me/products. Let me throw this up here on the screen if you're watching this, so you can see it. But yeah, look, just go buy a shirt. They got hoodies, they got long sleeve shirts, they got sweatpants, they got all kinds of good stuff here. But help them out. Just buying a shirt that'll help them, help them rebuild, help support their community. So thank you to who was it who sent that our way? That was Eileen Winters sent us that. So thank you so much for sending us that information, Eileen. Once again, CrossFit-Malibu.printify.me/products. I got it up on the screen right now, and I got some good looking gear here. Help them out, because they're certainly doing the right thing for the community, for their community, and want to help them get back on their feet. So if you guys have any stuff like this that you want to get to us and help us let us get the word out on it, happy to do it. Send it our way. Send it to our personal Instagrams. Send it to the Talking Elite Fitness Instagram. Send all the information on where people need to go, what they need to do, so we can make sure that we're getting the people the help that they need. All right. PRs, no reps. I have one.
My no rep.
Go ahead.
So my no rep is baseball writers.
Baseball writers. For the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Who'd they leave out?
Let's see. So I hate when people just unnecessarily I'm not going to word this right. Let me just explain. Ichiro Suzuki, unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Love that guy.
He was not unanimous because one baseball writer didn't vote for him.
What?
And baseball writers, the Hall of Fame voting is anonymous. So I always feel like if you're not going to vote someone, you should be able to stand behind that publicly, right?
I would agree with that. Like, why? Just give me the I'd be very interested to hear the reason as to why you wouldn't vote for Ichiro Suzuki to be in the Hall of Fame.
But here's the thing. I and a lot of my friends who follow the sport sometimes baseball writers can hold these weird, ridiculous grudges that are just like, get over it.
It's political, no doubt. I have my old boss the guy who ran the sports department in Jacksonville when I was there. I don't know if he still is, but he was the voting member for the Football Hall of Fame representative for Jacksonville. And it was so cool to hear the stories about what goes on when they go into the room to try to decide, because there are like some political things that need to be navigated there about, oh, you didn't vote for my guy, so I'm not voting for your, like that kind of thing. And it's like, can't you just do this based on the merits of the player? But that absolutely goes on.
Yeah. So. I mean, like, and it, people are now bringing up like a ridiculous, like 9 voters left off Hank Aaron, 23 voters didn't vote for Willie Mays. You know, it's like, these guys like deserve to be able to put like unanimous Hall of Fame, like first ballot, like, and it's just, that's, to me, it's silly that those people won't stand behind the,
writers,
their vote. Yeah. So that was just a big, that came across the newswire like recently for sports. And it's just like a big old no rep. I'm also going to no rep Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys because
God, what they do now,
because the 2 teams in the NFC Championship are from your division.
Don't bring that up.
You have the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. You have the head coach of the Commanders is Dan Quinn, your defensive coordinator from last year. Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, was in your building a couple of years ago. Now, granted, I was not a Kellen Moore
No, I know. Like it's just, but yeah, you also didn't have Jaden Daniels. Yeah, you didn't.
And it's just like,
that guy makes an offensive coordinator look good. Yeah, and Saquon Barkley makes his whole team looks good. My God,
he's just absurd.
That guy is Tecmo Bo Jackson. He's Tecmo Bo Jackson incarnate. So, yeah, Eagles are a really good team, man. I thought early on they might be in the Super Bowl. That thing
makes me nervous.
Yeah, they're good. Okay, my no rep. Stupid fans, sports fans. Like, and I'm talking about. So, they're the idiots that when you have like a period break or a quarter break in basketball, and they set up the show on the concourse, and the crowd's behind you, and these morons get behind the talent, and they're like, "Hey, I'm on camera," and they're the ones who are on the phone calling their friends, "Hey, can you see me on the show? I'm on the show. Look, I'm behind." And just, dude, I don't mind if you sit there and watch. It's cool to sit there and watch. Just don't be an idiot. And they all do. Like kids, fine, kids do it, but like grown men on their cell phones calling their friends to see if you can see them on TV. Just come on, man. I want to watch the show. I don't need to see your antics behind the whole thing.
Yeah, the kids is allowable, right? Like let kids be kids.
Kids are fine, but when you're an adult and you're on the phone, "Hey, can you see me on TV? I'm behind Jarrett Stoll. Look, no, I don't need it." PRs.
I just pictured you pissed off at a hockey broadcast.
I'm like, I can't concentrate on what Patrick O'Neill is saying to Jarrett Stoll because that idiot is in the background making a stupid face on his cell phone and waving. Just stop. PR.
My PR goes to Carlos Bone of Bone Media and BOWN and his entire team that produced the documentary Unbroken, the story of the 2024 Tier Cup at Tier Wodapalooza SoCal. So
I haven't had a chance to watch that.
I believe it debuted today. I know Carlos had put out some stuff online saying he might have to miss it because of like flight issues in the Southeast. I hope he was able to make it and able to see it. But I'm excited to watch it. And I know, we've witnessed and been a part firsthand of what goes into making this type of content, and to do so at a high level. The teaser trailer that they put out looks great. And he had a very talented team of people behind it. Carlos was the director. Matt DiLorenzo was a executive producer. Corey Berger from Tier was a coordinating producer. Chadrick Berger was director of photography. Cinematographers Carlos, Chadrick, our good pal Steven Stover, Rick Evans, who also I believe supports the Buttery Bros Media too, if I'm not mistaken. Chadrick and Carlos produced it. Alan Pesqueda was a production assistant, supplemental footage from Evan Mumford, photography, Brandon Kessler, motion graphics was done by Steven Stover, and Carlos edited it all. So it just, this kind of stuff doesn't come together just by chance. It takes a lot of dedicated individuals, and it's a cool moment. I was kind of bummed to see that he potentially couldn't get to see the premiere, but I hope he was able to make it. Just wanted to give him a shout out here because it's good people. And I love seeing good people in the space make really cool content.
Yeah, I want to check that out. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm glad you brought that up. My PR just goes to emergency room doctors and nurses. This past weekend, I was in the ER twice with my son who has been battling pneumonia. So we were there at 3 a.m. on Saturday morning, and we had to go back again on Monday. He's fine. Everything's good. He's doing, but that Saturday night he was coughing pretty hard and couldn't get his breath. And so we took him in. People at Good Sam in San Jose were fantastic.
Yeah.
ER doctors and nurses, man, they deal with so much. And if you're one of them, God bless you for what you do on a nightly basis, especially if you're one of those graveyard people. Cause it's like you walk in that place and it's like the Star Wars cantina. Like you got all the types. But they were fantastic with my son. They got him feeling better. We had to go back Monday because his blood oxygen level was kind of low. And so they wanted to go give him just see if everything was okay. Turned out to be fine. They didn't even admit him. But again, they were awesome. They got us right back, took great care of him, made him feel comfortable. And so if you're one of the men and women who works in our emergency rooms, man, thank you, because that is a tough job. That is a really tough job. And we're lucky to have you. So PR to you people.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like you're probably dealing with people at their lowest.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. It's hard. Like it's a tough job. And it's like, we're in there and then here come the EMTs wheeling somebody else in. It's a thankless, tough job. And the doctor that we had both times were awesome. So thank you to the good people at Good Sam and everybody out there who's on the front line of the emergency rooms doing some good work.
I'll throw out a secondary PR to all the exhibitors at Tier Wodapalooza SoCal, because that's one of my favorite things about these unique events, and this is no different. Like this is a cool opportunity to go shopping in a way that you get a bunch of really cool swag.
You mean Miami, right?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Tier Wodapalooza. Okay. I said SoCal, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Miami. Like they published their vendor list. Go check it out. But I always love going, like walking through Vendor Village in Miami is always fun because people don't half-ass their setup.
No.
For Miami. I'm always like, oh, that's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. And I know it takes a lot of effort, and the end result is a really cool shopping experience for people in the space. So yeah, it's exciting. And if you see something cool, hook your brother up, maybe, maybe give me a call.
Yeah.
Maybe snag me one of Craig Ritchie's Hustle Made Miami shirts or something,
Or just go up to Lauren and preemptively say, Shooter McGavin, put that on the account.
McGavin.
I'll see you Sunday night for a shot.
Even better.
That'd be great. All right. That is going to do it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our sponsors, Thirdsy.com/TEF, 20% off, and check out the new Nano X5 from Reebok, dropping on January 24th. Or, you don't even have to buy it. You just go to the after party. Maybe you win a pair. So check it out. Sola, Sunday night, Miami Beach. Lauren's going to be there repping TEF, keeping us updated the entire weekend. All right, everybody, enjoy Wodapalooza. Good luck to Chase and Bill, the whole crew down there. Hope it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to watching. For Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other. Be better. We will talk to you guys next time.
Like a kiss at the start of a first date. If it's good, it's good. I don't want to wait. When the feeling's right, I'm taking it.